Donation and Mining family, what is going on? What's up? What's up? What's up? Definitely everybody, as you guys are sliding on in here, certainly smash that lizardy like button, subscribe, hit the bell notification, all of that good stuff. Sorry about not getting the notification out a little bit earlier. Every time cat, stop. I'm either being bothered by a cat, like constantly wanting my attention, or I've had like people just coming by, hanging out, stopping me from doing what I need to do. I had a few other things that I wanted to do, but people just consistently came by, interrupted my own plans. But is what it is, right, guys? So what is going on? Hopefully everybody is doing great today. Yo. Certainly don't see anybody in here quite yet, but I know I got my notification out really late here. Later than I like to see my notifications getting pushed out. So while we're waiting for awesome people to come on in, I shall just kind of go over market stuff. Oh, I don't want that chart. Nah. We want the good chart. If we're going to do a chart, we want the good chart. Go for that sweet busy Bitcoin. There we go. All right. Bam. So just like that. Why isn't it on that proper screen? What are you doing here? Let's see here. For some reason, it's not looking at proper monitor. Hey, there we go. Okay. Crisis averted. I do not know why it was doing all of that. So, all right, there we go. Some reason it's not sized in properly. So there we go. All right. What is going on? I see we got a couple of people starting to slide on in. So here we are with the charting. Like I told people that we are going to be looking at, we can close Friday above that $25,000 marker. There was no reason that we couldn't hit 30,000 by summer. We're right on track, guys. It does look like the 200-day moving average still looks like it's got a little momentum behind it. It's like we're still putting in higher highs and starting the day off with higher lows. So we are definitely in a bullish string. Now, how long this bullish cycle will last, hard to say. There's no reason that we shouldn't. I don't say that we couldn't see $30,000 within the next few weeks to a month. No reason that I wouldn't say that would be safe. Unless there's something in the market that, either the market runs out of momentum, which that could always happen. There's only so many buyers of the sweet busy Bitcoin that can keep a price rising. That's one aspect. Maybe there's a heavy sell wall at 30,000, where it taps 30,000 and just gets smacked, and it just sends off a wave of some of sells, like a sell cycle on this. Very well could be that too. But I say that we should be able to safely hit $30,000, even if we get rejected off of it. To be able to surpass the 30,000 would mean that we're on another epic bull run. I would like to see, if it's going to hit 30,000, I'd like to get rejected off of it, and kind of find a little place of strength, get the market to kind of calm down, relax, and then go into its next cycle. You never want to see these things go parabolic on the rise. Now, that also hits in with some of today's topics of why I'm showing this, and we'll get around to that. What is up? MC in the house. What's up? We got MC. We just need automatic beats, and we got a party. Too funny, too funny. So, I mean, market's looking very healthy in my opinion. I could see it cooling off right here, taking a deep breath, and then let the market gather in gather in a little bit of more momentum behind it, and then pop to the next cycle. To me, that's a little bit more healthier than just taking an elevator to Moonville, right? That I do not want to see that in any way, shape, or form because it's unsustainable. We saw what happened during the last cycle. It cannot sustain that huge curve correction going up like that. No market can. You're basically going into uncharted and oversold territory. That's never good for any market. That usually sets up for a glorious crash, which we all witnessed here. So, for all of us that were able to stick through this nasty bear market, congratulations. Looks like we are starting into the next bull cycle. And if we can put in another all-time high in this cycle, this will be the first time in Bitcoin's history that we will have put in a triple top. Yes, it'll be the first time within a 4-year cycle that we put in a triple top. So to me, this really spells out some bullish sentiment. Now, we do know that Biden is trying to single out high energy usage, and they're going after low-hanging fruit, which is going to be Bitcoin mining in general. That they want to propose a high energy consumption tax down. The best thing that you guys should know is that they're not going to be able to single out an industry. That's actually more than just a little illegal for the government's overreach to isolate out an industry like that when there are many other high energy usage industries. It's not the government's decision to figure out what energy usage is good or bad, and which ones to tax and which not to tax. If you're going to tax high energy usage, you got to hit it all. Which they do that, it'll push every industry out of the United States. And I don't know what that would spell out for the U.S. after that, because that would hit. And I mean, think about just manufacturing a car, how much welding goes in. High energy right there. So I'm not really going into the FUD on that stuff. I usually try to explain it that it's impossible for them to do that. It's just FUD getting circulated around. Normal stuff, guys. So let's go ahead and get into some of the stuff that, like back stuff that people have been looking at through the market, through these banking collapses, right? So Circle, owned by Circle with Poloniex, with Goldman Sachs. So that's that whole banking circle right over there. So the stable coin USDC lost its 1-to-1 peg. The US dollar and to the US dollar and plunged as low as 87 cents. It did restore its peg on Monday. Yeah, because they were banking with Silicon Valley Bank. So you see how quickly it is whenever you've got why we're into Bitcoin and how much banking impacts the market as long as you're in poop coins. If you play in poop coinville, you are at the mercy of the banks. And it's like I've gone over and over and over again with people going, I don't care how much the developers tell you that, oh, this coin here, this project here is completely decentralized. We even have our open source code. You can check it for yourself. I don't care how if I could sit there and check it for myself. Where are your funds at? How's your blockchain being stored? How's your blockchain being validated? And I guarantee you, a lot of them are going to hit the first one going, oh, I got our money at the bank. So you believe in the bank more than you do Bitcoin. So you can see where the loyalties lie with a lot of these poop coins is that, you know, they're banking with the banks, not with Bitcoin. They might be, oh, we love Bitcoin. They don't hold it. They hold cash. But you know, you'll have Circle saying, you know, they had to pause customers' ability to convert USDC to dollars until Monday. So I mean, like, because of a bank issue, you know, you could have had your funds in jeopardy. This is why I do not leave my stuff on exchanges. I don't. If I'm going to hold on to something long term, it's Bitcoin. If I'm holding something short term, yeah, I might dab. I might gamble a little here and there because I can see the arbitrage behind it. But at least I know to myself that I'm gambling. I'm not holding on to something because, you know, it's not like Dogecoin where I'm going to hold on to a little bit because I don't expect it to do anything. And I got it while mining Litecoin. So I mean, to me, it didn't even to me, it has no value. Outside of, I have a Dogecoin wallet and it's got a whole bunch of Doge in it. You know, to me, it was just more of, you know, that aspect of it. So, I mean, that's like the only poop coin that I really have held on to long term. If it's not Bitcoin, I don't want it. So, going into Circle onto this, so they had a holding of 3.3 billion of its reserves at Silicon Valley Bank. So I mean, because of a banking problem, you know, we're going to see more of this. This is not going to be an isolated event. I mean, we saw 3 banks implode: Silicon Valley Bank, Silvergate, and there was one other one I can't think off the top of my head. So it's going to be very interesting moving forward with how the markets are going to be really holding up with the whole banking stuff. Now that I start seeing people starting to slide on in, we'll go over a little bit of hardware news here and then get into the meat and potatoes the rest of the way, guys. So cool little hardware. It's funny that Noctua is getting their names into here. This just shows you don't have to buy Noctuas. If you're fans, I mean, you can buy the Noctua fans, but you don't have to buy the Noctua edition. This just shows that you can sit there and strip off the old broken fans off of there and zip tie some Noctua fans on there, and your GPU will be fine. This just proves it. I think it's hilarious. I just wish they would do the black variation, but then it wouldn't be that Noctua feeling, right? Of the poop brown blades. So if you were looking to make a brown computer build, or a goldish bronze themed, you know, gold, black and gold themed, this would be like neutral colors for that. Unless you're doing a full Noctua build. If you're doing like a one-off Noctua build, everything in there is just themed out Noctua. Kind of cool. I'm not. I don't think it's going to mean too much. But there are some differences between the Noctua coolers, the FinStack, and standard original heat sinks. And you can see it right from here. If you can actually see, the heat sinks were optimized for the Noctua edition. So what they're saying on there is, instead of having 2 larger diameter heat pipes with 6 smaller diameter heat pipes, they went with 4 large diameter heat pipes. So it's so the original heatsink had 2 8mm heat pipes and 6 6mm heat pipes. On the Noctua one, they've got 5 8mm heat pipes, and 3 6mm heat pipes. So what the difference is on the on those heat pipes is, yes, it's bigger, of course, but it allows them to actually put a little bit more water into it for the evaporation process. So it's able to wick away a little bit more heat, and it'll give it more time to come in contact with the heat sink to cool down, condense, and then trickle back to the GPU section, right? So it doesn't look like the fin stack really changed. So fin stack height and width really looks about the same from their from the way that they got it pictured out here. But where you do see some of the differences is the original design is also a little longer. So they were able to shorten up the fin stack on the Noctua edition versus the original, like they were doing this against the Asus Tough. So the Asus Tough cooler is longer, but it has more of the 6mm pipes. So it makes sense that they're, with the smaller millimeter pipes and 3 fans, the cooler's now longer. They were able to do it more efficiently and more compact with the Noctuas. The only thing that sucks about the Noctuas is because of the thickness of you're also gapping in with the thickness of the Noctua fans. So you're ultimately losing about 4 DINs worth of space, because between it's a dual DIN card already, but with the fans on here, that's going to be another DIN. So it's 3 DINs by itself, and you've got to make sure that the card can breathe. Otherwise, what's the point on having all of this if it can't breathe and it's suffocating to death? So you're now looking at least 4 DINs of space you're giving up in order to make sure this thing has the airflow. Yo, Automatic Beats, what's up, my dude? Yeah, these cards are thick. They are super, super thick. But they're shorter. So, I mean, like, I guess it's like a trade-off at that point. You're getting a thicker card, but it's shorter versus a standard 3-fan GPU. But it's interesting to see that you can, this just shows that all of us miners that have been sitting here strapping on zip tying fans to coolers when fans die out, we were spot on. But it's like some of the cards wouldn't always respond as nicely if you just zip tied standard Noctua fans on there. At that point, putting a Delta fan on there, hey. But even then, not all GPUs can handle even that. Like I've got a Zotac 1080 Ti. It's the amp dual fan, so it's just the amp extreme. That's all it is. So it's just a standard dual fan, but the fin stack is so tiny. I tried to put this into a server case with no fan on there to see, and man, them temperatures got out of control quick. What up, 3000? What's going on? What's up? I need a rig, so jelly. I don't have the time to figure it all out. So I might be able to. I could help you out in that. Coming soon here. I have to do it, guys. Shameless plug over here because we have somebody talking about it. So my man Trin. I have a facility, the Family Mine, here in the United States. I do not know where you are, but if you were ever looking to be, we are setting up vendors so that we can start. You were looking for equipment and stuff. We can work an arrangement out where you either get ASICs or GPU rigs. And we build it for a small fee. We set it up on our shelves. You control the mining. You just pay a monthly fee on it for electricity, hosting charge, blah blah blah. I'm just saying, that could be an option for you if you don't have the time. That like some people would say, leave it to the professionals. So it would be your equipment, it wouldn't be ours. So at any point in time afterwards, you're like, I don't want to mine no more, and I'd like my equipment back. You pay for the shipping, and we'll ship it back to you gladly. It is your equipment. I have no necessity to be taking other people's stuff. My wife would kill me, my business partner would kill me, and my business partner's wife would kill me if I did something as foolish as that. It's in my own best interest to play it nice. No, I would never. It would never even cross my mind to keep somebody else's equipment. I have been robbed before, so I know the feeling of when something has been taken from you. It might be a small amount in the bigger, greater scheme of things, but it's your stuff, and how dare somebody really take your stuff? I know the feeling 100%. I've lost 3 Bitcoin through this. So like, do it, Cali. Nice. Yeah. So if you want, you seem like a good dude. Drop that link. Actually, I have some links down in the description down below. One of them is to my Discord, where you can get in direct contact through me, right through there. Or if you want to make sure that you have, a VIP access to the mine. Yeah, I'll put it that way. VIP access to the mine. There are some perks too. I have a Patreon down below. If you get into the VIP, the pseudo hasher, which is the VIP section, you'll get guaranteed shelf space at the facility. And if you are in Cali, bro, we do not have the Cali tax on there. You'll be looking at 9 cents per kilowatt hour all in. All right, 9 cents per kilowatt hour. So it's going to be better than California's 50 cents per kilowatt hour plus all the taxes. It's like, oh my god. I have a few friends that are out in Cali, and it's like, oh my god, you pay what? No wonder why you never turn your AC on ever. For sure. Love to have you be part of the community, my dude. What's up, the dude? Howdy. Yeah, the power is nuts. Yeah. Whenever my buddy told me about the power out there, I was just like, I had to pick my jaw off the ground. I live in Chicago. Okay, I'm in the Chicagoland area, and we have everything here is pretty expensive. It's not where my facility is. My facility is in Oklahoma, so it's like you guys are way more expensive than me, and I can get pretty good rates here in Illinois, but I wanted to scale up a little bit bigger, and I figured that I had to relocate myself. So I'm in the process of doing that too, so I can eventually move closer to the facility so that I can be more hands-on instead of it all being my business partner. And between him and his wife, taking time off to be able to do this stuff, it's awesome. Yeah, exactly. When you add up the numbers, you're like, I'm just gonna dollar cost average my paycheck a little bit here and there, whatever it may be. If your expense is like, hey, I want to spend $100 a month, you dollar cost that in. It's like that makes more sense than spending $200 and only making $60. It's like, and totally get the math on that one. It's like, mathematically, if it doesn't make sense, don't do it. And then you have people like myself that can offer you a better option. It's like the equipment's going to be out of my price hands. I don't try to make money on the equipment. My job is to have a four walls and a roof with adequate cooling to run your equipment with as much power as humanly possible. We'll be having about a half a megawatt worth of power here getting set up. We're getting in with the contracts right now to start the negotiation with the power company to get this going. Oh, that is nice. A constitutionalist. I like people that believe in freedom and the freedom to leave me the hell alone if I'm not bothering anybody else. Like I'm just a freedom lover, and to me, what I'm doing with mining Bitcoin, mining on GPUs adds up to that freedom. So yo, that is awesome. That is awesome. You have come to the right place, my dude. welcome welcome to the family, guy. ah. You'll fit in quite nice here, very much quite nice. It's like there are many of us that are, pro 2A. Like, let freedom ring. Hells yeah. And when freedom doesn't ring, Pew Pew fixes that. For sure. All right, let's go ahead and keep on continuing on with all of this stuff. Yo. So, I'm not sure how good this is going to be. ASRock wants to, with the new 5th gen SSD M.2s, these things are creating some serious heat. And with all that heat on there, it's like we're going to have to start looking at solutions to be able to wick off these heat, the heat being generated because of the how much throughput is on these new 5th gen SSDs. And it's kind of funny that it feels like I've seen these before, right? And they never really work well. They tend to be like a heat block, and not in a good way. I mean, like it captures the heat, but unless you're putting on putting it onto like a water loop system on there, where water flowing will wick the heat away, you're gonna have these big chunks of aluminum with little fans in there. And the block is the block is getting hotter and hotter and hotter as you're doing high compute mode on there. So if you're playing a game that's actually using direct storage, that's going to heat this up. If you are doing any kind of workload with these bad boys on there, it's going to heat up. And the blocks are not going to wick the heat away unless you've got a wind tunnel that you're putting your computer into. Who was it? It was Gamers Nexus went through and tested out a lot of these different design setups of different coolers that supposedly was wicking away the heat, and they were sitting there and watching the heat creep on the M.2s, and these were Gen 4s. These aren't even the Gen 5s. Gen 4, and they were watching the heat creep. Now, did it go out of control, out of its thermal range? No. But you were able to see a noticeable difference of some that really held on to the heat versus some that didn't. What was nice on some of the ones that didn't really hold on to the heat, they would also bring the temperature back down a little faster. A little. But most of the time, they did not 90% of the time, they did not outperform the actual heat sink that goes on by from the motherboard. So that little metal cover that goes above your M.2 actually performs better. than most of these because you're talking about a thinner piece of metal, so you're not going to get that heat creep. And it's a bigger surface area to just radiate heat on. You've already got a fan blowing across your motherboard from your computer case, or if it's in a server case. So I would be curious to see the heat performance on this. I don't know how much performance you're really giving up by not having it on there versus having it on there. In the past, the M.2 coolers like this have generally been gimmicky at best. So, and it's like, and I don't mind seeing a normal heat sink being hot. That aspect does not bother me if everything is sitting there running just fine the way it is. If I'm not getting any performance degradation, who cares? But I guarantee you that unless that fan is moving some serious air through this, you're really talking about, at the bottom of the cooler, you got the plate where it hooks onto the M.2 with the thermal pad. You've got the first layer of a fin stack that's a little thicker. You have a back plate that it radiates up with cooling fins that are in a horizontal design. This will incur heat creep, and over time, I think this will have a nominal effect at best. That's just my opinion on it, just from the way that I've seen other product stacks before. It's like we've all seen these, at some point in time, and a lot of times, in order to get the heat, the airflow, this fan is wailing, and you get this like very distinct high pitched whistle. It's almost like the world's most annoying coil whine backed up by a beat. And if you guys don't mind that, perfect. I mean, if it was in a data center situation, I put a little 90 millimeter server fan on here, call it a day. Let that thing just whistle. I don't even care. But outside of doing that, I don't know if a standard fan that they're trying to be noise orientated on, because they know that there's going to be a point where people are just going to be like, oh hell no, this thing is louder and it sounds like a jet engine going off in my computer. I'm trying to watch Netflix here, or I'm trying to watch Crypto and Hot Rods on YouTube. Yo, smash that Lizzie like button. They like that one. That was a good one. But you're going to be watching these with the heat getting radiated out on this thing. I just don't see the performance of what they think is going to be achieved by this. Again, I would be curious in getting my hands on one. If it's cheap enough, I'm going to test this thing. But I don't have anything with Gen 5 speed, and I'm not spending the money on that either. But I've got other M.2s that I could sit there and test this out on, and no cooler on there, this cooler on there, and see which one actually gives me better performance off of it, and I could get like a handful of coolers and actually do a barrage of testing with one of these bad boys, and put it into like work mode on this thing. I just don't have one with Windows, because Windows would be the most intensive. Linux is too lightweight for it. Linux runs really nicely, so I want something that's gonna make the memory like heat up. So there's like a test that I know. I don't know if they have it for Windows. It's a memory test, and you just loop that bad boy on there and just watch temps. And for me to be able to monitor it like that, I know how to do that in Windows a little bit better than I know how to do it in Linux. But so I'll try to actually, if the price on this isn't like astronomical, if it's like stupid cheap, I'll do some testing. And we'll get down to the bottom of this, if it's even worth running this. I think it's more gimmicky than anything else, but that's just me, right? Um, we'll do this one next. So Intel may now launch. This is the next one, guys. Yo, check this out. This might actually be helpful for proof of useful work, maybe. Don't know. I know it's going to be astronomically expensive, so unless it's like you're getting a real good gain from it, I don't recommend grabbing these specific ones for proof of useful work unless it's absolutely necessary, guys. So Intel launches a 500 watt TDP CPUs thanks to the upcoming Xeon platform. So Avenue City is the new platform for Granite Rapids and Sierra Forest data center CPUs. So I mean, it's standard configuration on this that I, you know, whenever you're looking at server boards, this is like a really crappy little rendering on there, but that's just like your typical, you know, you got some peripheral stuff you could plug in, CPU arrangement. Your fans would be sitting in front of this with air ducting that'll direct it right over the CPU cooler, all that good stuff. So board will feature CPU core design, 13-inch in length. Like, holy cow. So we got Granite Rapids Sierra Forest AP CPU, up to 500 watt TDP board support, by 12 DDR5 channels, self boot support, up to 6 by 16 PCIe lanes Gen 5 CXL, 6 by 24 UPI. Which gives you a lot of stuff you can really plug into this thing. Now the UPI is not where we're going to be looking at. We are looking at the PCI Express on there. So it'll have PCI Express Gen 5 CXL. So I'm excited for that. Self boot support on there. Of course, it's a server. In case of loss of power, you don't want to have to go into a server and turn on 1,000 servers. That's redundant. It should be just built into it. Then it just, you know, like each one of these boards coming out, they're all going to have different setups on there depending on who you're grabbing the boards from. These are going to be, you're probably looking at $6,000 to $7,000 per chip. Easy on this stuff, guys. Tons of pinouts. Now the coolers on these things are actually kind of interesting. If you noticed on the socket here, there is no latching system on the socket. You see 4 studs to be bolted down. What's really cool, and I didn't think about grabbing a picture of this, but the way that they do the cooler design on this. So the cooler is where the CPU lock is, and then the whole thing slots down onto the studs, and then you screw down your hold downs right onto the board itself. Interesting setup on there. I don't know if any of you guys have ever played with servers before, but you try to take a cooler off on the older servers. They had, you know, the ones that had the pins on the CPU itself. You ran a chance on taking the CPU off with the cooler, even though it was locked in, and then ripping pins off in the process. So unfortunately, you know, we now are dealing with this setup where, you know, you go to socket this thing in, if it's not centered just right, it looks like it should be pretty good. I mean, if you look at it, guys, the corners look like they should hug the CPU and kind of help guide it into place. And then it gets bolted down, and then through shear force from the cooler, it'll compress onto the pin array and make contact with however many thousands of pins there are on this thing. And we're going to be looking at the Sapphire Rapids, which will be Gen 1. That's going to be 350 watts, up to 64 gigabytes of HBM2E memory. Very good to know. But what's nice about this, guys, it supports up to 80 lanes of PCIe. So for proof of useful work, this will have you covered without any issues. So you'll have, you know, it's, as long as you have a minimum of Gen 4, you know, or a by 4 16 slot, you will be fine. If you've got a by 1 slot, it will not work. You need a minimum of a by 4 or by 8 slot on this. With the 80 lanes on there, you'll be able to support everything properly. It looks like Sapphire Rapids and Emerald Rapids have the HBM2 memory support on there, or HBM memory. It'll be more than likely HBM2. Granite Rapids is planned. Sierra Forest to be determined. Diamond Rapids and Clearwater for Forest to be determined. But these are going to be the next generations coming forward. Granite Rapids will be next year. Same thing with Sierra Forest. And then the following year will be Diamond Rapids and Clearwater Forest. They are, Intel is typically about 7 years out on production for testing and new technology. So as we get it, it's 7-year-old technology. They're already on the next latest and greatest thing. So that's how they're able to keep rolling out new products so quick. You know, what looks like to be so quickly is that they've been developing this stuff for 7 years. So it was like, oh, we're good to go, green light, you know. So it'll be very interesting to see how this goes. But this should help out with proof of useful work if you're wanting to do Flux, or, you know, if anybody else starts implementing in the full implementation of proof of useful work. But again, you can get some of this stuff benefited through the Threadripper Pro or the regular desktop Threadripper. They give you a lot of PCIe lanes that it can handle. So that's what we're going to be looking for, is PCIe lanes, and at least on a by 4 setup. You know, a 16 by 4 or a 16 by 8 pinout array on there. If it's anything less, no bueno. For at least the way that it looks like for Flux. Now, we are all speculating at this point, considering that there is Dynex using proof of useful work, but I don't know if that's the exact implementation that Flux will be using, guys. So I've been like looking into some of this stuff just because, you know, if or when Flux changes to proof of work, and if it needs higher computing power, it's going to kick off a lot of validators off the network, which could in turn make some of that profitable if you got the hardware, but you don't want to overspend on this stuff, guys. So looking at the brand new hardware, you know, it's like eye candy. It's like driving past a Ferrari dealership. You look at it, but you're like, yeah, one day I might be able to polish a wheel from that. But, you know, today I just got to drool at it. It's window shopping, you know. It's on your bucket list type of deal, but you ain't getting one today. I don't even have the money to be grabbing stuff like that unless Intel were to sponsor me, you know, and I was cool like that. That would mean that I would have to have this channel be, you know, as big as, you know, Linus or Gamers Nexus or something like that, you know. So with the Sapphire Rapids, is a 48 mega transfers per second, and Emerald's going to be at 5600 mega transfers per second. So it'll be a great upgrade for, you know, the DDR5 setup on there. It will support the higher speeds on there. You're not going to get the enthusiast speeds on it, but it is going to be supporting the higher throughput on there. So this will be a very good little server setup depending on the pricing on there, and is it going to be worth running high-end equipment like this? Because I mean, all of us miners, we try to grab the minimum required equipment that'll run on there. That's the most efficient, right? And if spending $10,000 nets you the gains on there, then sure, go down the rabbit hole. But if it doesn't make mathematical sense behind the game, don't bother looking at going down this rabbit hole. If it's something that gets geared up for people with infrastructure already set up. I mean, once Flex goes to proof of useful work, there are going to be miners that are going to come out that are going to be specifically for them, that you'll be able to purchase. I hate getting proprietary equipment quite like that. I like to be able to own my own equipment and know that I put the equipment together myself, so that it can be repurposed into something else if needed. Not that I'm stuck with like bricks. I mean, look at all the helium miners. Just as an example to that, right? You get all these dead helium miners. I mean, my helium miner, I pulled out the Raspberry Pi out of it. Had a 2 gig Raspberry Pi RPi 4. So I'll sit there and use it for whatever stuff. I mean, I love the small form factor builds. I mean, there's always interesting stuff. I got a Raspberry Pi controlling my 3D printer and stuff like that. It's awesome. What up, Crypto Badell? He's like, I'm late. Well, welcome. He's like, I'm all in on HNT and not financial. Yeah, you were all in on HNT selling the equipment at the height. Too funny, too funny. Talking about selling equipment at the height, dude. This is a great segue into this one. Would you ever think about smuggling hardware? Whenever you think about smuggling hardware, you're like, man, what are they smuggling, and what country is this dealing with? And you're like, China. You're like, oh wow, what were they smuggling out of the country? And you're like, you see, that's the funny part. They weren't smuggling it out of the country. They were smuggling it across the country. So the Chinese customs has seized a large number of SSD storage hidden in an electric scooter at the Guangdong Machu Quigmo checkpoint. I hope I said that right. I probably was just a little off. I feel I was a little off with that. So the Chinese officers noticed an unusual X-ray of an electric scooter as discovered. The front section had a hidden package containing many NVMe SSDs. On March 3rd, as many as 84 SSDs were found in the Yadia KS electric scooter during a crossing of the Hong Kong Xiao Macau border. An unnamed individual placed a large package of Kingston SSDs in a hollow space of the steering rod. The custom officers are well aware of the methods used by smugglers who typically hide packages in large battery compartments. This person decided to take advantage of the thin and rectangular shape design of the NVMe SSD and sliding them into the hollow space in the front section. While the idea was extraordinary and would have likely gotten the individual large profit, it was also effortlessly to spot through X-ray. They're like, hey, what's this? That doesn't look normal. So yeah, they just bust that stuff apart and they're like, oh wow, look at this, right? Over the past few years, stories have emerged of multiple individuals trying to smuggle hundreds of CPUs through Chinese customs. In some cases, CPUs were strapped around their bodies. Man, I hope they weren't duct taping it, man. Ooh, I hope they shaved beforehand. Ooh. The smuggler's goods would have even exceeded $120,000. This attempt shows the ingenuity of the smugglers who quickly adapt the miniaturization of the PC components. Authorities have not confirmed what the value of the smugglers' goods or what fine would this person be subjected to. I'm just not understanding why. I mean, were they stolen? Are they fake? Are they counterfeit? You know. So I mean, it raises questions of what, why they were trying to do the Kingstons. Were they actual Kingston or they dummy ones? So, or were they just straight up stolen? I mean, let's be real. Every country has their theft problem. But I mean, but China has a even bigger issue with copyright infringements and counterfeiting. Counterfeiting is huge out there, right? It's like not financial advice, tariffs, yeah. It's just kind of it's interesting in how they're trying to get all this stuff in. I'd be curious. I mean, it could be even tariffs, Golden, like you're saying too. I mean, are they trying to get past so they don't have to pay for it and they're just paying for a scooter instead of $100,000 worth of NVMe SSDs in here, right? And they didn't even. So it's 84 drives, dude. I mean, like, and it's like, did they say which? They're not saying which variation they are, and the picture's really bad. I can't tell. So I mean, depending on the size and stuff like that, depends on what the overall price would have been. I mean, it could have been $100,000 worth of SSDs, and that's just crazy. The tariffs behind that, if they had to pay a traveling fee through the country to go through the through customs on that. But that is crazy. It's probably the ones that were overheating. Right. Very true. Very true. Could be. And then kind of getting away from that a little bit. I don't know how to segue into this next spot, but bam. Check this out. Microsoft Edge releases a surprise. So, you know how Microsoft Edge is a virus on Windows? I mean, let's be real about it. You didn't want it on your computer. You don't use it. And yet it updates and it tries to turn itself on every chance it gets. That's a virus, right? So now they're putting in poop coins in there. So they're trying to integrate an Ethereum wallet, and that's early in development. We'll see how far this goes whenever the SEC comes down and goes, oh, that's a security. And Microsoft's like, done. I do know that some of the Microsoft people are big Ethereum people. So it's not, it's definitely not a surprise that they would be trying to integrate an Ethereum wallet. They more than likely won't stop there. They'll sit there and add in whatever wallet, and I don't think it'll be exclusive to just Ethereum. It'll probably be that way at first. That's how it was on my phone. So this is the S10 Galaxy. This has a crypto wallet baked into the phone itself. And at first it was Ethereum only, Ethereum and the ERC20s tokens. So I couldn't use it, and I really don't want to use it. I checked it out, looked at it. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Wow, man. And now I don't care about it. But to see that Microsoft is, trying to get into the wallet space, I'd be curious to see how they're going to do their wallet solution. If you can consider that like third-party custodial wallet, or are you going to have direct access to your private key? Like, can I copy my private key and go into another Ethereum wallet and paste my private key into that Ethereum wallet and access it from another area. That's the true test of, do you have control over your wallet? Can you move the private key directly? If you can't, then you don't really have control over that private key. I mean, some people might argue otherwise, but that's just me. If you got an unused hardware wallet, and you want to recover an old hardware wallet, all you have to do is input into a new hardware wallet the password. It's like, some people are like, oh, that's there are ways to be able to, through a 26 seed phrase, encrypt a private key, but if I can't sit there and unencrypt it myself so that I can put it into a standard full node Bitcoin wallet and access my crypto that way, is it really my Bitcoin? No. That means it's still hidden behind, Trezor or the Nanos software. It's behind their wall, which that scares the hell out of me, because if it's behind their wall, how hard would it be for them to be able to access it? That's why there's so many people going, oh, there are hacks for it. Most of them involve being able to physically touch them, but I mean, I don't know what they can do from the developer side of Trezor. Good God, I don't think that they're going to do anything nefarious. They've been around for a while, but I'm just saying, it's just that shadow of doubt in the back of my mind. That's just my thoughts. Do I use a Trezor? I don't use a Trezor. I have a Nano, the Nano Ledger S, and yeah, I mean, it's like, but I treat that more like my wallet. I'm not walking around with my full wealth in this wallet. I'll put some spending cash in there, but it's not going to be every dollar I own. That's foolish. And I look at any of the hardware wallets being the same way. Don't put all of your crypto onto one hardware wallet. And if you're going to sit there and have it all in one core QT wallet, then you're going to want to make sure that you have a couple of different copies of that private key. I mean, there's different levels of security, right? And if it's like, but almost anything is better than sitting there letting it sit on the exchanges that are so tied in with the banks that all it takes is a banking collapse, and we see all of this turmoil going into that, banking collapses. Let's just go ahead and jump into it. Some of the things that are going to cause Bitcoin to potentially hit $1 million in the next 90 days, guys. So let's check this out. So we all know about SVB bank collapsing, but the analysis behind it shows more than 186 U.S. banks still might collapse, guys. They're all making the same bad decisions across the board. So they want to sit there and, the current administration wants to blame Trump for what's going on. Whenever Congress kind of pushed it through that the banks no longer do fractional reserve lending. It's been 3 years since the banks have been doing fractional reserve lending. Banks now do money creation. It used to be fractional reserve lending. That's gone. The market for that, they were about to go into a crisis, and we were about to hit a banking collapse with the pandemic, and they relinquished the part of the watchdogs that they had on there and said, you no longer need to have any reserves. So they were green lighted to be broke. They don't have money. Not one of these banks have the money try to pull out a $5,000 out of your bank account. You would think that that's going to be super simple. Nope. They're going to make you wait 2 days. Think about that. They are making you wait 2 days. Why? Because in order to get the cash they need to be able to cover your $5,000 that you're pulling out, they've got to sell one of their bonds. And this is where all of it goes downhill from there. As they sit there and raise the interest rates on loans, they've got bonds now that they're upside down on. They're losing money. So in order to sell a bond, they're selling a bond at a loss. So if everybody does what they call a bank run, where everybody just basically goes, can I have my money? That will cause them to start selling their bonds. And if they sell off enough bonds, they can actually, if it's a big enough bank, if they sell off enough bonds, they can collapse the government's the government's budget. They can collapse the government. Forget about the other banks. Forget about. They will basically collapse the government if they sell enough bonds. Because if they start selling bonds, the government has to start paying. And then at that point, they have one or two decisions to make. They either start creating money from the central bank, starts creating money to cover all the bonds that are being sold, which they can't do that. That will be a Weimar Republic or Venezuela overnight. That will cause hyperinflation. So as these banks start collapsing, if you're a betting person and you're betting that the banks are about to collapse, this is going to be that moment in history where you're going to want to make sure that you are either in gold, silver, or Bitcoin. Because like if there's more collapses that are going to happen, it's going to cause more banks to sit there and start selling bonds. The government cannot pay for it without going into hyperinflation. They are trying to keep that's why Janet Yellen and Biden so quickly got in front of everybody so quickly and went, we will cover everything, nobody's losing their money. Because if this is the beginning, the U.S. economy is about to turn into a third world country, and it's going to be those people who took the opportunity to understand the warning signs behind this and got themselves into assets that would thrive during this period. If you are looking at Bitcoin and going, oh my God, Bitcoin is amazing, and you're looking at the banks going, I have no confidence over there. To me, it's a no-brainer. I buy more Bitcoin. I'm not telling you what to do, but I have not had faith in the banks for a long time. I just have been raising the alarm bell just a little early, knowing it was going to happen, because you can't sit there and do quantitative easing where you're doing money creation and dropping interest rates, because you're going to speed up the velocity of money, and that's a bad thing. The government thinks that, modern monetary theory, MMT, teaches you that you need the speed of velocity. Yes and no. Weimar Republic got the speed of velocity. The people didn't understand that their currency was devalued. They just understood that if I didn't buy the goods today, it would be more expensive tomorrow. So the velocity of money sped up. And because of that velocity of money speeding up into the market to buy value, trying to extract value out of the market faster than the dollars they're using to extract that value devalues itself. And that is the prime example of what hyperinflation really is whenever the bad money starts speeding up circulation because nobody wants to hold on to it. And that anything that they need is going to be more expensive tomorrow. So it's better to buy everything today, even if you don't need it until tomorrow. You buy it today because you might not be able to afford it tomorrow. And you'll have people racing to the store. You think the toilet paper shortage is bad? Wait until the money is bad. It'll be everything is shortage. If you aren't sitting there and don't have your own chickens, you don't have your own garden, you're going to have a problem potentially if the velocity of money goes too fast for fiat. And by the time they realize that that we are setting up the powder keg right now to do this, it's going to be too late by the time they react and try to stop this. If they were like, I don't know if there is stopping it right now. The only way that I could see them doing it is if they do exactly what Britain did, which was did an exact 180 on the quantitative tightening, and they went right back into QE, because you cannot taper off a Ponzi. It's like the banks are drug addicts. You cannot just take away the drugs. They die. You know, it's like they've been pumping them up full of all this economical opium, right? And they can't stop injecting it without causing a stock market collapse, which that would wipe out so many industries here in the United States. We'll have the most successful camping story in U.S. history. Everybody will be campers because you will not be able to afford your house. I mean, those who have houses now, I hope you have it mostly paid off if a banking collapse actually happens. The other problem is going to be is you're going to have these people who have loans that are also near record lows. And if they get the interest rate too high, the interest rates for the banks will be higher than the interest rates they're charging the customers for the loans on the houses they already have. It's like, imagine, you're at 6.5%, 7% interest on your home loan because you refinanced at the right time. 6.25%. You refinanced there at the perfect time, right? I've seen people refinance at 3%. Sweetheart refinancing deals. Banks are going to go belly up. The banks can handle a couple of loans like that where they got sweetheart interest rates. But when you got a whole bunch of people that are at 6.5% interest rates on their house loans, and interest rates are now at 8% to get inflation under control, that bank is out of business. He's like, I got in right around 3%. Congratulations, my dude. Congratulations. You having that, the interest rates, your bank is already losing money on you. Interest rates are higher than that. They're at 4.25% for the bank. They are not making money on your loan anymore. Forget about homeowners defaulting on their loans. What about the banks defaulting on their loans on the homeowners? It's like they're in contracts. Is the government going to allow every one of the banks to sit there and go into a restructuring agreement with every home loan and have every one of them have have an adjusted interest rate on it? It won't fly. It will not fly. That would be a constitutional overreach of the biggest magnitude. That's why they cannot get student loans to be repaid, because you're either telling the banks to write it off or you're telling the central bank to print more money. Either way, you can't do it. I don't even agree with the whole the printing of the money during the pandemic. I just don't, in any way, shape, or form. And you know, going even further into it, he's like, U.S. mid-sized banks seek FDIC insurance on all deposits for 2 years. The Banking Coalition reportedly argued in a letter to the federal regulators that it would bring stability to the banking industry and reduce the chances of more bank failures. FDIC insurance doesn't have that kind of money, period. Especially after they bail out Silicon Valley Bank. Once they bail out Silicon Valley Bank, there's going to be no money left in FDIC insurance. So, with that being said, they can't do this. Without printing more money. They print more money. That's going to make Bitcoin be $90,000 in 90 days. So, the mid-sized bank coalition of America has reportedly asked the United States federal regulators to extend insurance deposits on all deposits for the next 2 years. According to a report by Bloomberg, the MBCA, the coalition of banks, sent a letter to the FDIC asserting the extending insurances on all deposits would immediately halt the exodus of deposits from smaller banks. As long as you're in a community bank, you're not going to have this issue, guys. This is small banks that are directly attached to the big dogs. So if your bank is attached to one of the big dogs, you may have an issue, and you may want to move your money into a smaller community bank if you have to utilize a bank. That's how I bank. Yes, I have to use a bank, right? If I'm going to use a bank, I'm going to use one of the small community trusts. Why? Because they're funded directly by the community, not by big industry, not by the government. The government will not step in and help out a small community trust bank. They don't care about them. Us plebs at those banks are nothing. We can go lose our money and they will sleep just fine. So with that, with that being said, at that point, it's like it's a dual-edged sword. Yes, if you go with a smaller community trust banks, you're less prone to the bank failing. But at the same time, they are still exposed to the very same bonds. They have those same bonds that the big banks are also buying. So, if the big banks dump too much of the bonds out onto the market, it will drop the market price on the bonds, and that's how it affects your bank, a small little bank and the community banks. Is that once they start tanking the bond prices, the bond market, you start seeing bank failure after bank failure. And I'm not sure exactly how they're going to be able to do this, considering that FDIC insurance can't even cover not even a full % of all deposits out there. So this one's going to be an interesting one. Great recipe for Bitcoin to go through the roof. Great recipe for the government to step in and say, we have CBDC coin, the central bank digital token. The small community, the regular banking industry has collapsed, and the faith of the dollar has been transferred 1-to-1 into the CBDC. I just see something really messed up like that happening. So we can see the precipice of a potential 300 banks or more go under if FDIC insurance fails to provide some guarantees. So let's just put that up there like that. And that kind of goes into this, guys. Former Coinbase CTO makes massive bet with that Bitcoin will rampage past 1 million within 90 days. So a $1 million bet placed on Bitcoin's price performance. Sirin has made a public wager on the performance of Bitcoin itself. Self-proclaimed social democrat James Medlock initiated the bet on Friday by making a public offer to bet anyone 1 million that the United States does not go into hyperinflation. The ex-Coinbase CTO agreed to the bet hours later. You buy 1 Bitcoin, I will send 1 million USD. This is a 40 to 1 odds, as 1 Bitcoin is worth 26,000 at that time whenever they were writing, right? Balaji responded later on that by adding that if it does not reach the coveted $1 million threshold within the stipulated time, Medlock would win and get to keep the 1 million worth of USDC, the dollar-pegged stablecoin issued by Circle, and the 1 Bitcoin. Similarly, if Bitcoin is worth at least 1 million by June 17th, then he would keep the 1 Bitcoin and the 1 million USDC. Yo, talk about put your money where your mouth is. 40 to 1 odds on that. 40 to 1. Bro, that's a crazy little spread. If you had $1 million laying around, you can have a 40 to 1 shot on this. Damn. I hope this guy, if it doesn't hit $1 million by June 17th, I hope this guy has $1 million sitting off to the side. I mean, he did work for Coinbase, so I mean, he might have $1 million. He's, maybe, don't know, have no idea. I hope he does. I don't think it's gonna hit $1 million, guys. Just to be honest, I don't think it'll hit $1 million in the next 90 days. It'd be awesome. I think we have a higher likelihood of $30,000 in the next 90 days that Bitcoin will hit $1 million. Now, if Bitcoin goes into, if the U.S. dollar goes into a hyperinflation status, that'll be economic collapse worldwide. Yeah, that would be interesting if the U.S. dollar actually destabilized and went into hyperinflation mode because they have to cover the spread of every bank out there. That'll be very interesting. I have to admit that. I really do. What's your guys' thoughts on that? 100%. What's your guys' thoughts on that? Do you see, Bitcoin hitting $1 million in the next 90 days? Or is it more feasible that, you hit 30 to 35,000 in the next 90 days? It's like there would be no way I would ever bet that much on anything. Facts, bro. We don't have that kind of money just laying around, of course, right? Someone has a ceiling they want to hit. Pull more FOMO in so they can dump. That could be true too. Considering that these are both people that are in crypto. One's got USDC, which is Circle's stable coin. But if somebody were to sit there and say, I think the banking system's going to collapse here. If it collapses within the next 90 days, I wouldn't be worrying about the price of Bitcoin too much. I'd be more worried about how I'm gonna keep food on my table, and making sure I have enough ammunition. I'm just saying. Exactly, Golden. Like at the most, maybe 50,000. The government's not going to let the banking system collapse. Period. Let me rest assure you on that one, because if they let the banking system collapse, That'll collapse their precious stocks right along with it. And we're not going to watch any of those crooked politicians sit there and watch their wealth eviscerate. Like, just watch it. 30K a whale will dump. It could, man. That would suck, but very well could. Or maybe the people that got out of Bitcoin go get back into Bitcoin and it skyrockets. I have no idea. So does anybody got any other comments or questions before I head up out of here, fellas? Definitely smash that Lizzie like button, subscribe, hit the bell notification, all that good stuff. If you would like to, if you haven't done so already, please join the Discord. Links down below. If you are into mining and you don't like the high prices that you have to pay for electricity at your current residence, certainly check out the links to Patreon, get into the pseudo hasher tier, and get into the VIP waiting list to be able to mine and host your gear at the family mine. I don't care where you're at in the world. If you want to sit there and pay the shipping to us, you pay for it 100%. Duty, taxes, and all. I don't care where your equipment comes from. We host it all just the same. If you're willing to sit there and pay for the exorbitant shipping cost that some equipment is, shipping it across the country, please do. It's like I will not tell people to not do it. I know there are people in different countries that are extremely expensive per kilowatt hour, or people that are in California that have extremely expensive power. So it doesn't matter to me wherever you are. Definitely, if you're wanting us to host your gear, check out the Family Mine links down below for the Patreon. Get onto the VIP waiting list. We don't have the website up and going quite yet. Small little things first. We're trying to get power. I think power is more important than having a functioning website. But I have all the legalities all taken care of, contracts, everything for you guys, so you guys know it's all on the up and up, and you know that, you can rest assured that everything's being taken care of just as good as you or better. I'm just saying. And I know some people, man, they never clean their rigs, or they let their rigs run really hot. We solved that. We certainly solved that. So thank you everybody that's been here. Certainly drop some FAs in the Chizity chat, guys, because you guys are rated F for freaking awesome. Yeah. Woo. So with that being said, if you guys aren't going to sit there and have no other questions, certainly drop those FAs. Drop those FAs. Hell yeah, we got John Jermaine with those dropping that FA. Yo, we got 8 awesome people. There should be 8 cool mofos dropping FAs in the chat, because you're all freaking awesome. And with that being said, everybody, peace out, stay savage. Where is the rest of you? I know, right? Where's the rest of you? I know, John Jermaine, put them all on the spot, man. Where are the rest of you? Everybody should be putting in those FAs. There could be some people that turned it on just so that I can have the watched minutes, and they're pretty FA if they just turned it on and walked away. I mean, like, if you're ever going through a store and you see a laptop, just put Crypto and Hot Rods on the laptop. Go on the YouTube and turn on Crypto and Hot Rods and walk away. That's how you get. I think that's how some of this happens. Yo. So with that being said, thank you everybody for being here. Peace out. Stay savage. May your watts be low and your hash be high. I'll see you on the next one.